To give you a reference on how old I am, SpongeBob first came out when I was 2 years old. Now I'm 17. Where has the time gone by? What is up, everybody? RandomRandomMan here, and long time no movie review once again. Yes, I do apologize for not having a review up in quite a while again, but seeing how January was the dumping ground for movies, and there has been nothing relatively new released that I was interested in, I am back to review my first official release for 2015, and that is for the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, which stars Tom Kenny, Carolyn Lawrence, Mr. Lawrence, Clancy Brown, Roger Bumpus, Bill Fagerbakke, and Antonio Banderas, and it's directed by Paul Tibbitt and Mike Mitchell. Now the plot, which of course is based off of the TV show of the same name and is created by Steven Hillenburg, follows SpongeBob SquarePants, voiced by Tom Kenny, who finds out that the secret Krabby Patty formula has been stolen once again. Only this time, not by the nefarious Plankton, voiced by Mr. Lawrence, but by Burger Beard the Pirate, played by Antonio Banderas. So, it is up to SpongeBob and the gang, plus Plankton, to find out where the secret formula has gone before Bikini Bottom turns into complete anarchy. Like I mentioned in the intro, it's been a long time since SpongeBob first premiered on TV screens back in 1999. But I have not mentioned this in any video prior to this one, but I'm actually a pretty big SpongeBob fan. Don't believe me? Well, I was a fan of the TV show. I'm pretty sure I had clothes, toys, and other accessories based off of the license. And when the first movie came out back in 2004, I went bananas for it, and I've seen it about a dozen times afterward. And I still have this picture book that was based off of the movie since I was 7. Wow, I'm quite a dedicated fan, if I do say so myself, and I'm pretty sure that I still have the soundtrack based off of the movie lying somewhere in my house. So, as big of a SpongeBob fan as I was, after the movie came out and the first 3 seasons came and went, the show slowly started to dip in quality, and I subsequently lost interest because the episodes just were bad. I mean, SpongeBob has obviously seen better days. But then the movie of this kind, which is a sequel, has been announced 10 years later. And going in, I had mixed opinions going forward, as this was going to mix live action and 2D animation for SpongeBob. And seeing how they have done that in the past in some episodes had me wondering, could they pull this off? Well, did they succeed in doing so? Let's run down the whole thing. The voice cast for SpongeBob has always been so wacky and out of this world ever since it has first premiered. Tom Kenny once again does a very whimsical job playing SpongeBob, and yes, the character has been criticized over the years for being relatively annoying, especially with that laugh, but I still find SpongeBob very amusing in anything he is in. Bill Fagerbakke also does a very nice job as Patrick Star, Roger Bumpus as Squidward Tentacles, Carolyn Lawrence as Sandy Cheeks, Clancy Brown as Mr. Krabs, and Mr. Lawrence as Plankton. They all are very good here. They still have their voices down, and I still think that their characters are very much in the right of their TV show counterparts. The one addition to the cast, though, which I am not a huge fan of, is Antonio Banderas as Burger Beard the Pirate. Now, I do like Antonio Banderas, but I just kept wondering throughout this movie, what the hell are you doing here, man? What are you doing as this ridiculous character even for SpongeBob standards? Now, yes, he is a part of the live action sequences, but I will say that he did feel out of place at times and a little too hammy for his own good. But for the rest of the voice cast, I will say that they still have it ever since SpongeBob has debuted and ran its course for a surprising 15 years. I just really love this cast. Now, the plot here is nothing new. If you have been a longtime SpongeBob fan like I have been for the past decade, you know that the stealing of the Krabby Patty formula is a staple storyline in SpongeBob's history, and it is no different here. In fact, it was even a focal point in the first movie, and while that movie was about the buddy comedy with SpongeBob and Patrick being the central focus of that movie, it's also a focus here, but with SpongeBob and Plankton, to my surprise. And I didn't think it would work at first, but the hero-villain counterpart relationship that they do do have with each other and their back and forth with their dialogue is just so entertaining to watch that I felt like I was watching SpongeBob again in its glory back in the early 2000s. And a lot of this movie does feel like a very elongated episode of SpongeBob, but the ideas that are presented here are still very much fresh and make it just as different enough for people like me who are fans of SpongeBob, and even new fans will pretty much enjoy what is presented here. And SpongeBob has always been like that. It's always been this weird, and it's still weird even now. Speaking of weird, the best part other than the voice actors returning here is the fact that the animation is just as glorious to watch. The 2D animation is so dynamic and vivid throughout the whole course of this movie, and even when the characters do turn into the CG superheroes or their CG counterparts, it is just so cool to watch. I mean, they look like their characters if they were just plopped into 2D to 3D. The texture on SpongeBob as he is a sponge looks very nice, and even Sandy has little fur hair straggling everywhere when she is in 3D, and I really like the small additions that they put like that in this movie. My only other issue with this movie, other than the fact that I wasn't a fan of Antonio Banderas' character, is the movie's title. It is called The SpongeBob Movie Sponge Out of Water, and for a good 2/3 of this movie, it is 2D animated and is still taking place in Bikini Bottom, other than the Burger Beard sequences that I know I like. Not. But they don't even get out of the water until the final 30 minutes, and by they I do mean SpongeBob and the gang. And as much as I do love their looks, and when they do eventually power up into superheroes, and I forgot to mention that is so awesome, it seems a little weird that it was marketed this way, as that was the big focal point of the tactic they were trying to use in trailers and TV advertisements. Now, I shouldn't be complaining this much, as it is very nice to see SpongeBob animated in 2D once again after so long and not being good in the past decade, but it's still a little bit bothersome to me at least. But I will say that I was still very much enjoying myself throughout this movie. I was laughing quite a bit in this, and I will say that some jokes that didn't stick were followed up by some jokes that were really hard-hitting and self-referential to the show. And if you're a big SpongeBob fan and you see this movie, you'll know what I'm talking about with all the little nuances that this movie does have. And I just love everything that would be encompassed with this movie that is related to SpongeBob. Yes, I did have some issues here and there, but if you're a SpongeBob fan like I am, I would definitely go see this movie. My final thoughts on this movie are that the vibrant and vivid 2D and 3D animation in this movie make this movie really pop out. The voice acting is stellar once again from the returning voice cast. The creative team have done a very nice job making an old idea such as the Krabby Patty secret formula storyline seem fresh again. It is surprisingly funny, and I will say that the best part of this movie was walking out of the theater with a huge smile on my face and seeing a bunch of little kids swarm past me who are probably about half my age or maybe even 7, just like when I first saw the SpongeBob SquarePants movie back in 2004 when I was 7. I just got a huge rush of nostalgia seeing that, and hey, SpongeBob is back and he is in theaters once again, and it's the best he has been in years. If you're an old fan of SpongeBob who hasn't seen anything SpongeBob related in a long time, you'll be very surprised by how much of a treat this movie is. And even if you are a fan of animation, this is definitely a gem in that regard. And I will say that it is as good as the original SpongeBob movie and some of the great episodes that it had in the early 2000s. I definitely recommend this movie. My final verdict for the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, is 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.